Boomer, see, sir? You guys are ready? Yes.
15 bags.
Wow. Hey, how you doing? I hope the mayor's
Because he told us that he was gonna be there. What's up, nephew?
Good to see you.
Hey, Harry, how are you, sir? What's going on, brother? Good, good.
Councilman?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How are you? Good, how are you? Good. Hey, Josh, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Is that child's thing?
It was, no, yeah. I got it, just.
Okay, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for coming out today to the Collinwood neighborhood. Thanks, Councilman Polentick, for hosting us here today at the Collinwood Rec Center. As the summer kicks off this weekend with Memorial Day holiday, we wanted to provide the public a high-level update on our administration's plans to continue to work to reduce violent crime and address public safety issues all across the city of Cleveland. What's important to note today is that what we'll be talking about really speaks to an all-of-government approach that we are embarking on to truly reduce violent crime all across the city. I also want to acknowledge that this is a community-wide effort, and government cannot do it alone. That's why we're happy to be joined by several faith leaders and other community leaders here this afternoon. I also want to talk about the importance of keeping our children safe this summer. We want to make sure they're productive and have productive things to do as the summer kicks off. Just several weeks ago, I was out knocking on doors with CEO Eric Gordon, making sure that our families know about what activities are out there to keep our children safe. We want to continue to do that all throughout the summer, keep knocking on doors, talking to residents in the neighborhoods. I'll also be embarking on safety walks as well with leadership from the command staff and other community leaders throughout the summer season. One thing that's also important to note is we are going to be using every tool in our arsenal to keep our community safe. We're going to continue to work with the ATF, the FBI, and U.S. Marshals on targeted traffic sweeps and also targeted drug enforcement and targeted gang reduction activities as well across all 5 of our police districts. And we're very happy that every level of law enforcement, from the governor to the federal level, is supporting our efforts around addressing violent crime across the city of Cleveland. And as I said at the onset, this has to be a community approach. And so to the residents of Cleveland, please, if you see something, say something. If you see something, say something. Call the police, call your member of city council, call City Hall. We want to make sure that you're giving us the information and feedback we need to keep our community safe and secure. I also want to note that just today, Governor DeWine announced a $3 million grant proposal to support local law enforcement agencies to cut down on drug activities across the state. Cleveland will be receiving $137,000 of that grant, but it's also important to note that Columbus can do more and Washington can do more. We have a gun problem in this country and a gun problem in Cleveland. And it's time for Republican lawmakers to step up and do their job. It is so hard to be a mayor of a city in this state when we have a legislature that undermines our ability to get guns off the street. Everything from gun safety to background checks to permitless carry. These things not only make our residents less safe, but it makes our streets less safer for the men and women of our police department. So it's time for Washington and it's time for Columbus to help us as mayors keep guns off our street. With that being said, I'm going to kick it off to Councilman Polentick to share a few words. Councilman Polentick.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon. And as the chair of the Safety Committee, Cleveland City Council, I'm pleased to be here. And I want to thank the mayor for kicking his neighborhood initiative off here today. All I can say is this, that on behalf of the council president, we're here to join with the administration in taking whatever action necessary. But I need to tell you as well, council, we don't hire, we don't fire, we don't deploy, we don't administer. That's up to the administration. We're here to help them, work with them. We've passed those initiatives in city council, like the $10 million for Cleveland Foundation for neighborhood safety initiatives, the expanded gunshot spotter program, provided the additional funds for hiring of additional police officers within a budget. So we look upon this as a partnership. But as the mayor mentioned about, if you see something, say something. I want to say this, and my diplomacy and my political correctness has been far gone. A neighborhood is only as good as the people in it. I want to repeat that. A neighborhood is only as good as the people in it. If folks want to have safe neighborhoods, they have to stand up and be counted. They have to take back their street. They have to be engaged. And when you hear with the Shot Spotter program, the reason why that has had to be expanded in the city is because in some neighborhoods, people don't call the police. So again, based on just what the mayor has said and what other people have said, and I've said it repeatedly, at a meeting last night I was at, see something, hear something, say something. Get involved, set the tone on your street and in your community. That's the way we have the kind of communities that we want to have in the city of Cleveland. So we're looking forward to working with the mayor, the chief, the safety director throughout this summer and beyond. So we want to see additional police officers brought on. We want to see additional action, as the mayor outlined, going after outstanding felony warrants, after the worst of the worst that are out there preying upon our communities. But again, there's no substitute for an engaged citizenry. So council is here to help. We want to be engaged. We know this is going to be an interesting summer that we're approaching because of the levels of the Cleveland Police Department, and we're hoping that we're going to see more men and women, and I hope that's the other message to be sent today. If you're out there and you're interested in being a member of law enforcement, give CPD an opportunity. Give them a chance. Become a part of our family, the Cleveland family of making our city a better place. So again, Mayor, thank you for the invite. I'm looking forward to the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
Now we'll have Chief Drummond give us a briefing and an update on our law enforcement activities planned throughout the summer. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Thank you, Councilman Lenzik. And thank you, everyone, for being here today. I want to talk about a few things, but before I get started, I think it's really, really important to note that it's going to take a village, like the mayor just said. It just can't be the division of police. And I was appointed last year, and I think one of the things that I continually message is that the Cleveland Division of Police, we just can't do it by ourselves. I have to stress that over and over and over and over again. The administration is doing what it can. Council is assisting us. We need everyone, I mean everyone, to assist us and make our city safer for this summer, and not just this summer, just overall. Yeah, our violent crimes has increased, no question about it, and it bothers me. And I think, and I hope that it bothers you guys as well. It bothers me when I get text in the middle of the night from my communication control section about a 7-year-old girl being shot in the head. That bothers me, and I hope it bothers you too, and we don't become so numb to it that it's just another incident, it's just another report and so forth, and I think that's what happens sometimes. That should shock you to your core when you see things like that, when you report on things like that, when in the media, when you respond to those type of things. That's just shock you to the core. That 7-year-old baby, and yes, a 7-year-old is a baby, was shot in the head in her home, her safe haven. That should shock you to your core, and it does me. And now we are responsible for investigating it. Our officers responded for the call to that particular incident. Got there, and we received information that potentially a sibling may have shot the 7-year-old. But we also are investigating information that someone left the home with the weapon that was used to shoot the 7-year-old. So we're looking for that individual. We're not saying that particular person shot that child, but we're looking to talk and engage with that person and get a little bit more information so we can deal with that and find out what happened and bring some closure to the family. That young lady is a young baby, I'm sorry, not a young lady. The baby is in critical condition right now. And again, that should shock you all to your core. It does me. Our homicide rates have increased this year. Last night there was a homicide. Again, those things bother me. Just last night we had someone else killed in the city of Cleveland by gun violence. And important as well, that person that was shot and killed last night looks like me. And the vast majority of our homicide victims look like me. The vast majority. And the vast majority of our homicide victims are killed by guns. The vast majority. Last year at this time we had 63 homicides. We're currently at 66. In 2021, we're at 63. And our numbers just continue to rise. And I know the general public, the community, wants to know what are we going to do about that? What are we going to do about it? And it's a challenge. It's challenging when we're talking about violent crimes and so forth, and having the right staffing to make sure that we can do what we can proactively to bring those numbers down. But it takes the entire village to help us do that. We can't do it alone. That includes having great relationships with our community members so they trust us, they can provide us information to help us solve some of these crimes. But it's much deeper than what the Division of Police can do, much, much deeper. To my left here is Chief Sonia Pryor-Jones. She has an extremely important job. One would think that the Division of Police and her job is the most important. It is, don't get me wrong, it is. But her job, I think, is even more important. You know why? I deal with the symptoms. My staff and I in my offices, we deal with the symptoms. What she's trying to do through the mayor and his office administration is to deal with the root causes, to have someone take a weapon and shoot someone. I can't wait for her to get up here and talk to you about the things that she's doing, which again, I believe is dealing with the root causes. We're dealing with the symptoms. And I have a job, I have a duty, and we have a job and responsibility and duty to make sure that we get individuals off our street that are committing these crimes, that are killing folks in our communities. That's my responsibility. But again, I'm dealing with the symptoms. You know, I was talking to the mayor this morning, because the mayor, and we talk all the time, the mayor calls me, and he said, Chief, what else can we do? This is the mayor that really cares about this community. He said, what else can we do? Are we missing something? What else can we do? And I'm very candid and very honest with the mayor. I'm just the way I am. I don't sugarcoat things. I say I wish there was more we can do. You know, I think about the recent homicides when I review those particular homicides. I think about the situations that they occur, and so forth. You know, we have a homicide where individuals are just arguing, and next thing you know, weapons are pulled out. And then the guns are fired and people are shot and killed, or maybe they're not killed, but they have serious injuries and so forth. And what I told the mayor is, in those particular situations that we're talking about, I can have 2 cars with 4 officers sitting outside, but if it's happening inside the house, we can't prevent that. So that we have to get back to, as I stated before, the root causes that cause people to take a weapon out and start shooting. That's what we have to deal with. And the Division of Police, folks, Division of Police can't stop that. I know people don't want to hear that, and it doesn't mean that I don't care, because I do. Those of you who know me know that I care, but it requires so much more. So what am I doing, or what are we doing? And if I say am, if I'm saying what I don't want it to be singular, because it's not. It's what the men and women, they're out there every day, what are they doing? They're working with our partners, as the mayor talked about, with the FBI, with the DEA, ATF, the Marshal Service. We work with them on a regular basis during our various details. We have what are called violent crime reduction details. We have those several times per month. I wish we can do them every single day, but we can't. So several times a month we have these details, and that's where we go out and strategically, and that's the key. We're strategically target hotspots. Those are areas we're having a lot of issues with gun violence. And we target individuals who are wanted for violent crimes, shootings, murder, rape, and so forth and so on. We target those individuals and we remove them from those particular communities. And we work with our county prosecutors, we work with our city prosecutor, and we also work with our federal prosecutors. And the reason why we work with our federal prosecutors is if we can get them on federal charges, then they go away for a long time from our community. But that also breeds another problem, right? Because folks come home. So what do we do with them when they come home? And that's important again. Again, we have to deal with the root causes and not just the symptoms. We have issues relative to street takeovers by cars and sometimes dirt bikes and so forth. That's problematic. It's really problematic. And that's where we need your help in the general public to let us know when these things are taking place. Do we have strategies for that? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We try to get ahead of those. We try to get ahead of those by doing our research ourselves so we can head it off before it even starts. But if it's active, what we try to do is segregate those individuals, try to stop them, and our hands are tied in certain respect, but we cite them, we take their vehicles or dirt bikes, the case might be, and if possible and whenever applicable, we arrest them so they can be held accountable for their actions. Also equally important to help us in our endeavor to make our community safe is we have technology. We have to utilize technology. We have to be much smarter in how we attack this issue and attack it together. And again, through the mayor and his office and the resources that he's given to us, we are going to, or have, expanded ShotSpotter, which is really important, to all 5 neighborhood districts. Councilman Polensek mentioned earlier about, in some communities that we don't receive calls. And ShotSpotter proves that. About 80% of the shot-fired calls are not reported, and we know that from our research. We know that from our research. And it's vitally important because it helps us to get to those particular areas quickly. We found victims. Our officers have administered first aid, life-saving first aid to these individuals before EMS or fire responds to save, right now, we know, approximately 12 lives. Coupled with that is the ability to collect evidence. And it's also a community engagement portion of it as well. We respond to those particular areas. If we don't find a victim, if we don't find shell casings, what we do and my officers do, they go to respective homes, knock on doors and so forth, and make sure everyone's okay, especially in that particular area. The ShotSpotter technology is really precise. When I say precise, probably sometimes within 50 feet of the area, or even closer, actually. Let me take that back, even closer to where the shot's actually fired. So the officers can go directly to those particular areas. They can check their neighbors, talk with them, engage with them, get information, hopefully help us find out who's shooting the weapons in our community. Also important, as well as our ShotSpotter technology, is we're going to add 5 new crime analysts, 1 per district. And why is that important? That will give the commanders of those particular districts the ability to have someone right there to crunch numbers for them, to pinpoint locations we're having issues with, and then deploy his or her resources appropriately to those particular areas. That's, again, a way to utilize strategically technology and so forth and the data, and we have plenty of data out there as well. Also, the real-time crime center is important. We utilize that as well. We have officers assigned there monitoring the various cameras that we have throughout the city, and we're in the process of increasing those as well. Something happens, our officers can get up right up on a camera immediately, and hopefully get information, maybe a vehicle, maybe a person, maybe travel where they're leaving the particular area, and have officers go to that particular area directly. So that's a way to curb and hopefully stop individuals from committing some of the crimes that they're committing. Just a couple more things I want to touch on, and now turn it over to Callie. One of the things I was charged with the mayor as well as Safety Director Howard was to make sure that we increase our traffic enforcement. And that's really important because I get a lot of complaints, traffic enforcement. I got tons of complaints when I was a district commander about traffic complaints, and that has not ceased at all. So one of the things I told the mayor was, we'll increase our traffic enforcement. And he knows this because the mayor is a data person. Let me tell you, he's a data person and so forth. So when we increase our traffic enforcement, it's based on data. It's based on complaints. It's based on hotspot enforcement and so forth. So the officers, they go specifically and directly to hotspot areas and complaint areas for traffic enforcement. So it's just not a blanket to just go and just pull folks over. It's very strategic in how we apply that. And coupled with that, through my traffic unit as well as the traffic units within the respective districts, we work hand in hand with the Ohio Highway Patrol. We have a couple of details coming up now. I can't tell you when, but they're coming up as well. And that's just through the partnerships that we mentioned before. I have to continue to give them praise. State Highway Patrol, we also work with the Ohio Investigative Unit. They work with my vice unit to target those who are selling drugs and, selling illegal, who are dealing with alcohol. So they target the individuals who are selling illegally and so forth. But we have a comprehensive plan, I believe, that includes our partners. That's, again, FBI, ATF, DEA, Secret Service, Ohio Highway Patrol, and others. So I'll be here for some questions if you have anything for me. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Callie Mersman, Senior Strategist for Transit and Mobility with the City of Cleveland. As we gather here today, preparing to launch the summer travel season with the Memorial Day weekend, and also what I consider the best time of year to walk or bike or scoot around the City of Cleveland, I'm here to share just a couple of tips that we'd like people to keep in mind to be safe, whether they're driving through the city or out enjoying our fine outdoor spaces. So for drivers in cars, aligned with some of our Vision Zero data analysis and the things that are causing serious injury and deadly crashes in the City of Cleveland, we want to remind people first and foremost to wear seatbelts. This simple action can save lives. Across the state of Ohio, over 2/3 of traffic fatalities were of people that weren't wearing their seatbelts. So as the chief would say, click it or ticket, just remember, put that seatbelt on, you make yourself drastically safer. Second, we've seen across crashes in the City of Cleveland from 2016 to 2020, 1/3 involved alcohol consumption. Alcohol in cars don't mix, don't drink and drive. Third, if you haven't heard, as of last month, it's illegal in the state of Ohio to touch a phone while you're driving your car. We don't want distracted drivers. We want people in cars paying attention to the neighborhood surroundings as they're moving through the city, keeping an eye out for kids playing in yards, people walking and biking. Please don't be a distracted driver. And then finally, watch your speed. We know through research that just a couple of miles an hour can make a big difference in terms of life or death if there is a car crash. That's why under the mayor's leadership, we're working to expand our speed table pilot that we launched last summer. We have a proposal in front of City Council right now to fund additional speed tables across the City of Cleveland. And we found in our pilot that in locations with speed tables, vehicles are moving on average 8 miles per hour slower than they were prior to speed table installation. These speed tables make our neighborhood safer, they make our residents safer, our students safer, and anyone moving on the street safer. There's also an opportunity for residents to participate in this program. We have an open form right now online at clevelandohio.gov/traffic calming, where residents can submit areas of concern to us for data collection and consideration. They can also call 216-664-7182 to report those same types of concerns. And finally, we encourage everyone to get out and enjoy walking, biking, or scooting across the city this summer. We have lovely city parks, Cleveland Metro parks and trails all across the city. For more information about where to go and safety tips while you're out rolling or walking, we encourage Bike Cleveland's Bicycling in Cleveland Guide that's available online. And we hope to see you out on the street.
Now, Chief Sonia Pryor-Jones will discuss some of our efforts around violence prevention. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to really underscore that we are continuing to work on long-term preventative measures to address the complexities of violence in our community. A lot of this work is about offering support and resources for enrichment, but it is also about creating new tools. The mayor and Councilman Polensek both mentioned our new neighborhood safety fund. This fund of $10 million was passed, an ordinance passed for this fund last week. And we are anticipating that this fund is going to be monumental in our work against violent crimes in our community from a preventative measure perspective. There are a number of efforts across the city. As the mayor mentioned, we really are taking a whole of government approach to address violence. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those specific efforts, but we do need long-term resources to help fund the many interventions that we need to solve this complex problem. Cleveland is not alone, but Cleveland is actually doing something new and innovative by establishing the Neighborhood Safety Fund. So I want to make mention to some things that we're doing that are addressing some of the root cause issues that Chief Drummond mentioned earlier. A lot of them have to do with facilities like the one we're sitting in right now, our neighborhood resource and recreation centers. As we go into the summer season, this will be the first time that we have neighborhood-based social workers and youth development workers in every neighborhood recreation and resource center in our community. These individuals are essential because what they are doing is being available to our residents as they are dealing with real-time issues and problems in their daily lives. Violence isn't happening because someone just wants to do harm in most cases. In most cases, people are dealing with complex social issues, everything from homelessness, food insecurity, substance abuse, and our neighborhood resource and recreation centers housing our support specialists are able to support residents as they try to address some of those complex issues in their daily lives. This year, we've already supported residents with over 2,800 services and referrals. And in May alone, over 800 contacts have been made by those social support specialists that are in our recreation centers. It is essential that we have more people who are able to help people before a crime is ever committed, and it's usually because they are experiencing a social issue, like the ones I've named. The other thing I want to mention is on a daily basis, we are providing free enrichment opportunities for our children. Both the City of Cleveland and Cleveland schools have a full summer of robust academic and enrichment opportunities available for our kids. In the City of Cleveland, across all of our rec centers, for children grades 3 through 12, as well as young adults, we have programming available. While we encourage you to register, you don't have to. You can just walk into a rec center and one of our recreation center staff members will help you sign up for something. There's STEM, there's dance, there's esports, there's photography. So let's make sure that our kids are taking full advantage of these wonderful opportunities that are available in every single neighborhood. If you don't want to come to the rec center, go to your neighborhood school. Cleveland Schools has the Summer Learning Experience again this year. This program is also offering free opportunities for our young children as young as pre-K. If you are a rising pre-K student in the City of Cleveland, you can take advantage of the Summer Learning Experience. They also have workforce and internship opportunities for our children. As we historically have done, the City of Cleveland is also putting dollars into youth jobs for the summer. Summer jobs are critical. I remember having one of those jobs. I bought groceries one summer at my house. So we know that these kinds of things are really important, so we're also using our resources to do that. In partnership with Cuyahoga County, over 2,000 young people will have job opportunities available to them this summer. So those are some of the things that we have been doing and are continuing to do. If anyone has questions about any of these programs, you can give us a call at City Hall. I also want to make mention what we're doing for young adults, because we know with a lot of the violence that's taking place on the streets, usually our young adult population is involved. Two programs I'll mention. One, in our neighborhood resource and recreation centers, we have workforce training opportunities available in phlebotomy and medical coding and billing. That is an opportunity to fast track people and job opportunities. And for the second summer in the row, thanks to the mayor and our partners at the Cleveland Cavaliers, we're bringing back midnight basketball, or what the younger children are calling Hoops After Dark. This program is for young adults 18 to 26 years old. It's competitive basketball and play, but it's also real-time workforce development and social skills, supporting young people as they might be facing different issues in their lives. So that'll be getting started with tryouts on June 12th at Cadell and June 14th at Zelma George. It's an 8-week season that'll run through August. So these are just a couple of the things that we're doing in the city. We also have been working on food insecurity in partnership with the Cleveland Food Bank. We know that poverty and food insecurity is a big issue. So right here at this rec center, every month, we have an additional food produce time period where people can come and receive food. We're also doing this on the west side at Michael's Zone. Is really critical. Already we have serviced 200 to 300 families with this and over 850 individuals. So again, that all of government approach that the mayor mentioned is what we're using to build tools and also provide services to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we'll open up for questions. Yes.
What is different about this year's plan compared to summers of yesteryear, and how do you measure success by the end of the summer?
Yeah, I'll have Chief Drummond and maybe Chief Sonia Pryor-Jones chime in. First and foremost, I think over the last year, we have tried to build a solid foundation on the law enforcement side to do a couple things. Number one, boost officer pay. As I said in my State of the City address several weeks ago, the largest modern pay increase in modern history for the Cleveland Division of Police, an 11% pay increase over the next 3 years, and some other minor things to change the culture. Now our officers can wear ball caps, have beards, and tattoos. And then on the talent attraction and retention side, we are exploring some additional recruitment strategies over the next a couple months to consider retention bonus, hiring bonus as well, to make sure we can address the issue around how to attract and retain officers. This is a national phenomenon. Every mayor I talk to, from New York to LA to Birmingham, Alabama, is dealing with this issue. And last year we tried to set the right foundation to address the talent and attraction and retention issues inside of the department. I would also say, starting last year, through the leadership of Chief Sonia Pryor-Jones and other members of my cabinet, we began to create a long-term foundation on a 10 to 15-year effort to reduce violent crime in our city. We received a nearly $2 million grant from the Department of Justice to build this comprehensive community-based strategy around violence prevention. And through the support of Councilman Polensek, we passed a $10 million neighborhood safety fund, the first ever in this country, a true endowment fund to give the city annual source of revenue to really invest in what we know can reduce violent crime in our communities, whether it's expanding violence interrupters or making sure that we have recovery homes for victims of gun violence, or supporting our faith-based leaders to help us walk the streets to reduce violent crime. And so on the law enforcement side, more investments in police. On the violence prevention side, really investing in a long-term comprehensive approach. Chief Drummond, you want to add to that?
I'm not quite sure if I can add more to that. I think the mayor did a really good job kind of explaining what's different from last year. Also, what's different from last year relative to our plan is we have more technology. I think that's important to recognize that we have ShotSpotter, which is expanded into all 5 districts, which is going to enhance our ability to respond to scenes relatively quick when we're not receiving calls for service. Again, several times we've responded based on the ShotSpotter technology, notifying our dispatch center, then we send our officers to those particular areas. So that's different. I think that's really important to highlight. Plus, with the addition of our crime analysts, we don't have them yet, the 5. I think that's going to make a difference as well. Plus, our increased partnership with the Ohio State Highway Patrol, Ohio Investigative Unit, the DEA, Secret Service, and all those particular agencies working collaboratively together to target those hotspot areas that I mentioned before. Again, it's more strategic, and we're just operating much smarter.
And you talked about metrics of success. Look, I want to reduce violent crime. Everybody on this stage, everybody in the community wants us to reduce violent crime. Last year, we saw an overall 10% reduction in gun homicide deaths, an overall 9% reduction in homicides. This year, the numbers aren't where I want them to be. And I think all of us are outraged by the level of violence that we see on our streets. And as every member of my administration will tell you, I will not stop looking for additional resources and more tools to keep Cleveland safe. But Columbus and Congress in DC have to give us more tools and enforcement powers to get guns off the streets. And another thing I didn't mention, judicial accountability. Some of our judges are letting repeat offenders with gun violations back on our streets. That's frankly unacceptable. So the public has to join us in holding our judges accountable and lawmakers in DC and Columbus accountable, because we at City Hall can't do it alone. And I don't control the judiciary, I don't control Columbus, I don't control DC. But we're going to keep advocating to make sure we get more tools in Cleveland to keep Cleveland safe.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
most of you out here know that I'm on TV, plus 30 years. What you may not know is that I'm a preacher's kid.
Mm-hmm.
And the good book says, as a man thinketh, so is he. What can you do, what are we doing to change the minds and souls of the residents of the city of Cleveland so they don't think violence first, they think peace and resolution rather than pull a gun, shoot somebody.
Yeah.
And that's not material.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
a hypothetical conversation.
Yeah. You know, just earlier this morning, we celebrated Senior Day at Public Auditorium, recognizing 17 seniors across the city for the work they've done to keep Cleveland safe and to really keep Cleveland a thriving city. And I would tell you, we have to continue to be better role models, not just us as leaders in government, but us as members in our community. Diffusing conflict where we can. I know Director Woodson from our Office of Community Relations is here. Her staff is in the neighborhoods trying to diffuse disputes before they start. But the public just has to know you don't always need to use a gun. Don't use a gun at all to diffuse conflict. But the problem is the gun culture problem in this country is frankly unacceptable, right? That's a problem. And so the media can help us by talking about the importance of mediating conflicts without getting to violence. Chief Drummond, you want to add to that? Yeah? Okay. Yep. Yes?
Chief, going back to the gun violence, I know that in most cases, shootings, they're target. The victims are target. I don't know if you track this. Are you seeing any trend lines where innocent bystanders are getting shot too?
We don't necessarily track it to answer your question, but there are incidents where innocent people standing by do get hurt in these situations. We don't necessarily track it. We just want to make sure we find the person that's responsible for that and hold them accountable for it, but we don't necessarily track it.
And there's no sense in whether that trend is rising, steady, or falling?
No, there's no sense. No.
Question about co-response, care response,
Yep.
mental health, that's sort of addressing root causes of homicide. Where are we on? The last time I reported on this, there was 1.5 teams missing. Has there been any hiring going on there?
I'll tee this up and I'll let Chief Drummond chime in. Look, we were fortunate to use significant money from the American Rescue Plan to expand our co-responder model of policing in all 5 police districts. Through the leadership of Dr. David Margolius, we are in the process of hiring a senior strategist in our administration to help lead the care response model. And we're following the good work that the Adams Board is doing to really support that effort in Cleveland. And I'll let Chief Drummond chime in terms of where we are on the hiring aspect of the expansion of our co-responder model. Chief?
Thanks for that question. I think the care response, or Dr. Margolius in the health department is working on. Right now we have the co-response, and that The premise behind that is obviously having licensed professionals working with our officers. We are still short. At least one particular counselor, and so we're in the process of trying to hire one additional counselor, professional counselor, and that's through the Adams Board as well, and our partnership with them. For me, assigning an officer is easy. It's the other process is to make sure that we have the right person in place. But the officers that we currently have in place, I think, are doing a great job with their partners, with licensed professionals, responding throughout the city when a need arises. For example, in the airport now, we have some issues at the airport. Those particular officers are responding to assist the airport police officers out there, as well as the administration, to deal with some of the issues out there. And the reason why it's so important for them to go out there is because, again, they have the specialized treatment to deal with folks that are in crises. I'm not saying that all the folks at the airport that we're dealing with are in crises, but I think it's important that we have professionals out there assisting them.
You talked about the struggle to recruit. Where more specifically does the department stand right now, and like how many officers are needed to meet the needs, and where do you see that going, especially with people being eligible for retirement?
Well, right now, we are budgeted, this year, we're budgeted for 1,498 officers. So we're down approximately 230 officers. So I would like to be at 1,498. We're not there. We're budgeted this year for 180 recruits. We're going to certainly try to do that. But again, I believe in being honest. We're not going to meet 180 this year. But our endeavor is to continue to recruit and find qualified individuals that want to become police officers and serve their community. So we're pushing for that. We're working with the mayor and administration to come up with a robust plan. I think we have some really good recommendations that's in place that I think will enhance our ability to bring some folks on that can help us do what we need to do, which is to provide the best possible service to our community. So it's a challenge, like the mayor stated before. Recruiting is not unique to the city of Cleveland relative to trying to get folks to become police officers. And I've mentioned in the past, and I'll mention it again today, I've been on the job for 34 years. I came on in 1989, so it's a long time. When I took the test to become a police officer here in the city of Cleveland, there was approximately 5,000 people that took the examination, about 5,000. Now we're lucky to get about 300 to take the test. So it makes it very, very challenging. I think part of that, too, is I think we all have a duty and a responsibility, all of us collectively, to make sure that we're putting the right message out relative to law enforcement. It's a noble profession. It really is a noble profession. I think sometimes, and this is not the entire reason, but sometimes law enforcement over the last several years have been vilified. And I think that's part of the problem. Not all of it, but I think that's part of the problem. I mean, I think it's really difficult for some young person, maybe in college, to see some of the things that they see, to hear some of the things that they hear, and then wanted to come into the profession of law enforcement, which again is a noble profession. You're doing something to affect the lives of people in their community in a positive way. But again, I think the challenges are really, really difficult to get enough people, and that's the key thing, enough people to want to become police officers. And it's for some of the suburban departments, a little bit easier for them. And the reason why I say that, always a challenge for recruitment all the way across, when you're looking for 4 or 5 officers versus we're looking for 230, makes it a lot easier for them to recruit individuals. But we need everyone's help. Everyone's help. Yours in the media, everyone sitting in this audience, and those listening out there. We need your help to advocate for individuals to become police officers, because we are needed in all of our communities.
Feels like there's obviously this is slanted more towards keeping youth from committing violence this summer because they have more time on their hands, etc. What's the message there to parents? Is it just to be more active? Is it to have a plan for their kids? What's the answer for that?
Well, part of the reason we're going to be out knocking on doors throughout the summer is making sure that parents have a plan for their young person or anybody, even their neighbor in their community. I know when I was growing up, when them street lights came on, I had to be in the house. But I was busy from sunup to sundown. We want to make sure that every child in Cleveland is busy from sunup to sundown doing something productive. That's the key. And so we're going to count on the public and the media as well to help us spread the word about making sure our young people have a job, an internship. We have programming in our rec centers. We're going to be working with our clergy to spread the word, but we want to make sure that our parents have a plan for their children and our grandparents have a plan for their grandkids as well this summer. Yeah.
I actually have two completely separate questions. How do you support parents who need extra resources, who need a ride for their children to get to these
Talk about that.
places that kind of thing?
Connecting parents and families to youth programming. Yep.
And so I can't stress enough the wonderful tool that we have in our social support specialists. They are available in all of our recreation centers every day, and they are key to supporting our parents with their specific needs. They really do work in the rec centers with a caseload, like a social worker would, and support families with a variety of needs. And so if parents need access to transportation, if parents need to figure out which program is the best program for their child, those social support specialists are available to advise them.
And then completely separate, there is a training program that I know at least one of your commanders is going to this summer. If I understand correctly, it's in Chicago, 1 week out of the month for the next 6 weeks. Can you tell us about that?
We have our Commander Mo Brown, Maurice Brown, we call him Mo for short, of District 4. He's currently in Chicago through a program that I believe through Dr. Tillman, I believe. I don't have all the particulars. I wish I knew that question would be asked so I can answer that more intelligently, but I don't have all the particulars, but I can get you more information about that. It is him. It started with it's him initially, and if it's successful, which I believe it will be, and the things he's going to bring back here to the city of Cleveland to help us, to help him be a better commander, to help him to bring other recommendations and resources to help him make the 4th district better, and we'll hopefully duplicate that for the other districts as well. But I can give you more specific about the program itself.
Got time for one more question?
How do you go about convincing people to come to the rec centers to access the litany of services that are available here? Proverbial leading a horse to
Yeah.
water, how do you get them to drink?
Chief?
I think we're doing all we can. As the mayor mentioned, we are canvassing neighborhoods across the city, and we've been thoughtful about targeting communities where we have the least uptake and taking advantage of the programs at the Cleveland schools as well as in our rec centers. And we need your help. You're the media. People hear you constantly all day. Help us spread the word that there are some great programs and opportunities for children available right in their neighborhoods. And if you have access and want to go to a program that's in another rec center, that's okay too. But these are all free and available, and our tax dollars are at work making these things available for our children.
Free is the key word there. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Tangled mess, isn't it?
I have to be smarter than the cable.
Yeah.
Yeah, time to untangle, right?
I'm in, I'm out.